allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, welcome.
She's throwing money around.
Oh, Tanya, roll call. Tanya.
Here.
Tom.
Here.
Jeremiah.
Here.
Lisa.
Here.
Lori. Here. Chuck. Here. Linda's here too. All right, I need to take a look at the agenda. Mr. Superintendent, are there any additions to the agenda?
Just to note that Charlie Steer is coming for guest speaker, but he might not come right when it says guest speaker, so we'll work him in when we get there.
And I believe Jill and the kids are gonna speak a few words too, so we'll put them in where Charlie was and then we'll move on. Okay, the consent agenda, are there any questions? Mr. Ludwigson, or is there anything added to that?
No, we should be good to go.
Anybody wanna pull anything off of the consent?
I don't want to pull anything off, but I just want to acknowledge there's quite a number of resignations on there again this month, and I want to just acknowledge, thank you both folks for the service and wish you best luck in whatever their future plans are.
Yep, good points. You got that on there, Mr. Secretary? Okay. So no questions, we're good? Can I need a motion to accept all? Chuck?
Second.
Lori? Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Is that for both agendas?
Nope, we did the adoption first. Who did the first one? You did. Chuck and Lori. Did the first, we did the regular agenda.
Okay.
And then the consent agenda, you guys did again. All right, so we're skipping Mr. Charlie. All right, Jill, are you guys ready to say a few words? Or? Yep.
So your meal today from the Mango restaurant, big concept inspired.
Did Mike?
That's okay.
She's like, oh,
It can bend down for you.
Good afternoon. So today your meal will be served by a restaurant named Mar y Mango, a concept inspired by the beautiful fusion of cultures in our community. Just as our school brings people from many different backgrounds, your meal today will blend flavors from around the world to create something memorable and unique. Hola, soy Ilse, originaria de Honduras. Hi, I'm Ilse. I'm originally from Honduras. My other three members are Jennifer, whose parents are from Mexico, Gladys, who is from Puerto Rico, Caterina, who's from Rome, Italy, our exchange student. For our first course, we prepare by Gladys and Elsie. We prepare a cheese-stuffed jalapeno peppers layered with fresh mango slice, delicately wrapped with bacon. The dish is finished with crushed pork rinds, tahini, and chamoy caviar. The caviar was carefully crafted by Gladys and Elsie. The judges praised the balance of flavors, noting that the sweetness of the mango, the crisp texture of the bacon, and the distinctive touch of the chamoy sauce, and did not leave a drop in the plate. They really loved it. For our entree, we serve shrimp mango curry, a vibrant fusion of tropical flavors featuring shrimp in a rich, creamy coconut curry sauce, accompanied by mango, pepper, and sweet potato, creating a perfect balanced dish. The vibrant colors, aromas, and layers of flavors in every bite are enhanced by placing the rice in the middle, surrounding it with the curry sauce. The sweetness of the mango and the sweet potato complement the warm spices of the curry, while the tender shrimp adds a delicate, savory touch. This presentation highlights both visual appeal and multicultural inspiration behind the dish. One of the judges remarked that this was the best curry he had ever tasted. For our final course, we present a silky, delicate panna cotta, prepared by Jennifer, served as a refreshing and elegant dessert. The creamy base is topped with a carefully carved mango flower made by Elsie, adding a natural sweetness and vibrant color. Bright chamoy caviar pearls are scattered in the center of the flower, offering a burst of tangy, sweet, and slightly spicy flavor, while a light sprinkle of tahini enhances the dish with citrusy, final tone of balancing the dessert. The judges were impressed that we were able to set the panna cotta, which was skillfully prepared in an hour, and usually a panna cotta takes about 2 hours to set, and for competition we only had 1 hour, and we didn't fully made it to set, but they were impressed that we made it most of it set. So, and we did had a plan B, which they were also proud of that, because usually in the kitchen, that's what happened most of the time, where something goes wrong, then you have to go with a plan B. And then also, I got really nervous, so I forgot most of my English, and I started talking in Spanish to my teammates. And luckily, my team member, Caterina, she's from Italy, she knows Spanish. So it was a good thing that she knew Spanish that day, because she really needed it. So this is, I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you're going to be tasting samples of each one of the courses today. And as Elsie goes and finishes up the first course, if you notice, they have used a culinary torch for finishing crisping up the bacon. Now, one thing she didn't tell you is they had an hour, but they had 2 gas burners. That's it. No electricity, no refrigeration, nothing. We set panna cottas in ice, and they decided they wanted to bake the appetizer and not the traditional frying, which meant they gave up a burner. So first they got the panna cotta going, and that burner was fully dedicated just to their appetizer. So then on the other burner, they had to figure out how to do rice, how to make the curry, and for the curry, you had to boil sweet potatoes also. So, really kind of cramped in the space and everything that they were doing. But they were really good about kind of pivoting on a dime, and we've done it numerous times in our classroom when we serve something and something just doesn't go right. So a little bit more about our culinary pathway as she's getting things through. Here at Lund Prairie, Pro Start would be like the student organization competitive component that we have in our culinary pathway. It starts out with fundamentals of foods, and everybody in culinary arts this semester I had in fundamentals last year. In the fundamentals of foods, that's where they learn their sanitation and safety. They take industry certifications. They become a food handler. And we are at such a dire need for food service workers. Now, businesses with the new food codes, they have to have at least a food handler on at all times. Watching from a camera no longer counts. And they really want to move to a food protection manager. Well, our plan with that is in culinary arts at the end, we will work on the food protection manager, see how many of them I can get to pass that exam. But everybody that I have this semester passed the food handler. When some of my food handlers have went and applied for jobs and brought it with, they've been offered $3 more than other people starting out. I did have one that as soon as he got it, they promoted him to a shift manager because he fulfilled that food safety requirement that is required by our health codes. So that makes it a little bit unique with that. Our Pro Start competition was just last Thursday. And if any of you have been in my room for the beginning of March. It's a really crazy kind of time, kind of like first semester. Besides the sanitation and safety with that, they learn all their knife cuts first semester. Part of what they're judged on in competition is knife cuts. We don't have time to review or teach. They had to have learned them and keep practicing them throughout in there. Now the competition, well, let me show you a little bit more about it. It is not just cooking. With the competitions, they have to prepare recipes. They have to do a cost analysis. You can look at their booklets here. I have 4 of them. They have to do a cost analysis in there. They have to figure out what recipe is at the very beginning. That's their menu that they put together. And if you notice in it, it's written in Italian, it's written in Spanish, and it's written in English to represent the team that we have there. So with that, you can see the pricing on there. The pricing was designed using standard pricing that restaurants use. They had to figure out the food cost of the recipe. That's 33% of your menu cost. And that's how those costs came about. Their appetizer was a whole jalapeno or 2 halves that you see there. That was each appetizer. How are we doing, Alice? Excellent. On there, you see some little red sears. That is chamoy caviar. You know, we had to venture out, so we did bass. Oh gosh, no, I can't even say it. But you know what I mean, where we're doing a little bit something different. And we made caviar from chamoy. It shouldn't have really worked, but we got it to work in there. So that was something that was really unique that our team had done. Something else they had told us, I get to know kind of some of the judges. And one of them was doing sanitation. She wasn't judging ours. But we were talking and she goes to me, she goes, "You're the first team I've seen that knows to wash and sanitize the tables." So far, nobody had done that. They're covered with plastic. Who knows what the heck's been on there? So our team did that. And interesting thing is, my team knew they could unpack everything that was being cooked without putting gloves on. Because when it's cooked, you don't have to. So they unpacked all of our equipment because it was all going to be used to cook. As soon as everything was out, Katrina yells, "Wash and glove!" And everybody went and washed and gloved. And that one judge, she said, "Man," she said, "your kids fully understand food safety." Because most of them washed and gloved, then unpacked things out of totes that we've hauled all over the place and stuff. So they did a very real unique thing with that. So I was actually very proud of them. I didn't tell them to do it. They just figured out how to do it and they did it themselves. So they were really good. Okay, in the booklet there, you can see the various recipes. The kids that complimented on doing them standard recipe style where you number them. The judges said they had not seen somebody that had done that yet. Now, we were in the middle of the pack, but it's nice to get those compliments and stuff back from the judges. Now, what you did see in there, and I didn't even see it, and I was proofing stuff, I was named Jill Hansen, I was named Miss Hansen, I was named Hansen, and somewhere I didn't even have a name. The one judge caught that. Darn. But, you know, that was the only error they found in our book, so that is really good with that. The plating in there on the appetizer, they had done some different things with chamoy around them. If our little pearls didn't work out, we had our backup plan with that sort of thing there. Okay, back to our pathway a little bit as she is getting your young Korean or still finishing up apps? Okay. With our pathway then here, with the fundamentals of foods, I get all of the basics. And some of you know the amount of community stuff that we do and within the school and preparing various items. And it gets down to kind of a real tight crunch sometime. As I said, the beginning of March is pretty tight for us. Last Tuesday, we had the desserts at the blood drive. Thursday, I had the kids on the Pro Start team with me. My kids that were left were making parfaits for the JO volleyball tournament that I had committed to a long time before. Friday, they finished up the parfaits and they started working on the chili because this week we have the soup supper. And I don't know if you know, the first $1,000 that is raised, the state matches that for our food shelf. So that's an awesome thing. And, you know, we donate in some things. I wrote grants. Colburn's gave us money that covered a majority of our supplies. But like I'd written a grant, they got me the flour and everything for the homemade rolls. So they've already made all of their homemade rolls. They have made turkey stock. They have made beef stock from beef shanks. They have, now their chili started. And when we were at contest, everything that we had left came home because it was going in the soup. And I think the kids were surprised when she asked to see the waste. And so they're bringing out everything and it's labeled. And the chef said, well, you could do one container and dump it all in. They're like, no, we got soup supper. You know, you've got half of a bell pepper that can go into chili. We brought with, of course, extra green onions just in case something happens, but different things that were left. So they knew to bag all of that, have it all labeled, and put it in the cooler and ready to go. So our soup supper, here's a plug for that. This Thursday for the soup supper, they got chili, turkey wild rice from the turkey base that they made. We cooked up a whole turkey, and they learned how to make stock there. We're going to do a beef vegetable if we got time. The kids want to do homemade noodles, but we may end up with spätzle or some little dumpling in it. It'll all depend on how this week goes on stuff. And we're doing a corn chowder. That is a vegetarian dish. The bacon that we bought that we have not used is going to be browned up and is donated in then for the soup supper and stuff. And that'll be really good on the corn chowder if you're not totally vegetarian. And then for desserts, we're working on 5 different types of bars that will be put out. Then comes Saturday, and it's the orchestra concert. And I had it on for a week later on my calendar. Well, guess what? I was surprised. So we've been working or starting to work on they're going to do mini brownie sunnies, mini strawberry shortcakes. We got donated a whole bunch of aerosol whipped cream from student council after they did the pie in the face thing. So have to use it up, right? So we're using that, so that's then being donated back into the community in that. We are going to do mini key lime pies. Hopefully we get enough cookies made that everybody can have one with, I've adjusted the posters for the orchestra because we have an imprinted machine. Did you ever give them the cookies, Mr. Rude, that have the school logo on them? Oh, hit him up for him. He's got some in the freezer. We've printed a couple different ones with the school logo on them, and one is the Thunder Pride logo also. And the kids have adjusted over the years. We've changed up the sugar cookie recipe, and a third of it is white whole wheat. And it's a good cookie. They have adjusted the amount of sugar and the amount of fat. Actually, it's down from what the original one is. And they've developed a nice cookie over the years. With that, they have to learn all about royal icing and be able to ice. And then we run everything through the printer. So it's kind of a unique thing with that. So that's kind of a little bit about some of the events and everything we do. Yes, they still do have classroom work and need to learn things, but we do an awful lot of different events, which, as being career and tech ed, we're supposed to simulate as many job things as we can. So by doing all of these events, it allows us to simulate the various job experiences. And I think if the kids wouldn't have been there where, I'll be honest, Lori, you know when you asked about that lemon curd? We had a couple pans that the kids didn't seal the crust, so the curd separated out. That's where we came up with the idea where we took it and we put it all on top. And Lori came in and said that was my backup recipe if we didn't have enough curd. Then the interesting thing was it separated, the kids like, these still really taste good. So we had a couple pans and they turned them into lemon truffles, and if you were at New Year's Eve for the orchestra, you got to try the lemon truffles, and those came out of our bars, because in industry, you don't throw anything. You have to figure out how to recycle or repurpose it. It's funny, the kids will ask me, and towards the end of the year, they go, where do we put the carrot peelings? Because I normally have a bucket that we can use in vegetable sauce or vegetable stock. And I kind of keep that in the freezer, but towards the end of the year, I don't keep that. But some of you guys may do that too. or keep the broth off of any canned vegetables and use those in stock. So we do a lot of that sort of thing. Do you have questions for me about the culinary as Etsy's over there working her little heart out? And for a lot of this stuff, this whole menu is student-driven. Most Pro Start programs have a chef. The chef designs their menu and hands it to them. That's not the way the contest is written, but that's what happens. Our kids design their own menu, and here's the kicker. I can't taste anything. I'm allergic to peppers and chilies. For 3 years, kids have went to competitions and had to use their own palates and test their own recipes because I can't help them. I maybe get Blanche or a couple other people to come in and taste, but I can't be there for them. So truly, this with our kids is really their driven sort of thing. And if you notice in their meal, mango is their theme throughout, is what they came up with. Now for the curry, some people ask why with their heritages that they're at. In the Caribbean, we do see an awful lot of curry there also. And since so many of our students are from that part of the United States, it was a nice way of honoring them. Okay, I'm going to go, I'll help Elsie real fast. You're going to get some curry, and then we will bring around the panna cotta, which is the dessert with just a little bit of mango on top, and I'm sure she'll give you a tahini too.
That was wonderful. While we are waiting, we can move on. We're looking at reports. Don't have any kids here. Program reports, activities. She's not here either. She's still in Mexico.
She's, I think, on her way back. She's probably stranded, actually.
Poor thing. She had a report in the board book. Anybody have any questions or want to talk about anything? No? We'll let the guys go, Mr. Charlie in when he comes. I assume, Brad, do you know, are they all practicing already?
Yep, today is the first official day of everybody practicing. Baseball started today. So like last year we did softball and baseball, they call it arm conditioning now. So they're just throwing and catching and getting their arms ready to play.
Crazy. We still need a coach, it looks like, for junior high baseball. Or is
I
this,
think they're gonna go with one to start with, because there's only like 14 kids. So we don't have enough quite for 2 teams. So we're start with 2. And usually what happens with the start, they get so they just started today. So I think Tyler is just going to start, and then if they have something to do,
sounds good. Then you're up again. Anybody else have anything for activities?
We do the consent agenda already?
We did.
yes.
Okay, that was quick.
I don't waste any time. Community ed. You all have a chance to read that long report that Mr. Evenson did, that we have to make a motion and approve it. The achievement and integration. He's going to tell us a few words.
I'm not going to say much, but if you have questions, so what this is, how achievement and integration works, it's a 3-year plan that you have to turn in. Then each year you rewrite that portion of it, and you as well you go with a budget also. So what has to happen is we turn that in. You guys say yes, we can go ahead with the 3-year plan, and then they send it back to us and we fine tune stuff. But the overall plan is in place. And we did do there are some changes in there. One good thing that happened, and all these times we have to come and tell you that something got cut, this one did not get cut. We're actually gonna receive between $37,000 and $40,000 more next year. So which is nice, that enabled us to actually add, we're adding a good chunk, I would say probably like 7/10 of a para. So we're gonna be able to have paras in both buildings again, and it helps pay for our family liaisons, Guado and Valeria. This grant pays for a large chunk of their other stuff. The other thing that we have in here, and the big portion of this, a large portion of it is, one of the things you have to do is you have to have a consortium. Our consortium consists of 7 different schools, and they're listed on there if you have questions about that. We meet with them at least 4 times a year. What happens at those places, at the consortium events, the kids are actually learning about different cultures in different schools. So it's not just about being Hispanic or being from Haiti or anything like that. It's about what do they do in Albany, or what do they do? So it's a cultural thing for the school, not necessarily that. So we meet 4 times. This year, one of the times was because of bad weather. They had to change it, so we actually met online. And then the next one, will be in person, and then the last one is the big one where everybody comes, and that'll be in the beginning of May. So that's part of this plan also, so there'll be some stuff in there. And then the other big thing that was changed in here is the professional development. One of the things that has been, when went to the meeting about achievement integration, there's been a lot of research on trauma-based education for kids that come from different places. They come with a lot of, if you know some of our kids that come from Haiti, they've been through, in their life, some of the high school kids have been through 6 to 8 different coups, 6 to 8 different governments in that time. The government that's in place right now has only been in there, I think it's like 8 to 10 months. So there's a lot of things that they've lived through that change how they learn and how they react to certain things. So that's one of the things we put in there. I'm working with Sourcewell to come up with kind of a professional development plan for the next 3 years. And you can see that in there. We still have, this grant pays for the whole career fair. It pays for a jump start for kindergarten. It pays for some of our literacy plan stuff. So there's a lot of stuff packed into there. And so what'll happen is each year we'll submit a plan, we'll write it out. This is exactly what we're going to do, but overall this is what's going to happen for the next 3 years. So there'll be a budget that goes in with that, and it's about $260,000 for next year, which is up from $215,000 from last year. So, and all I need is you guys to vote on this and just approve it, that we can turn this into the state as our beginning for our plan. And then we will have feedback. One of the things that this will be brought to our stakeholders committee, and we'll let the parents look at it and if they have questions also. So, any questions on that?
Brad, is this a done deal or this is just an application?
This is a done deal. We were already approved for what we did because we've made some good growth. So what has to happen, how it works, Chuck, is that each 3 years you can up again, as long as you have a consortium that works with you and you have some good growth. You're showing that your school's improving in the areas that they want you to improve in. Our biggest improvements, actually, we did a really good job. Kudos to the high school. We went from about 10 to 11% of the kids that were looking for secondary education, so going to post-secondary or looking for a job or some kind of training. Last year we had 41% of our Hispanic kids that did that. So we've improved that 30% over the last 3 years. That was a big goal for us. So as long as you're making good gains, they kind of re-up it. And then it's based on 2 things. It's part of it's a levy, and the vast majority of this comes from state funding. So, and then you go through the process. There's 2 or 3 things you have to put in, and then this one, and then as soon as this is approved, then I've already done the budget and I'll send that in. So,
What is the approximate net cost to the district?
I want to say it's probably like 18 or 20,000. It's not very much. So you're getting 10 times of what you spent.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a no-brainer. And it really does bring a lot of stuff, especially, and it's not just to those kids. It benefits, that career fair benefits everybody. Having extra paras in the building, even in our liaisons, I mean, how many times a day do those people help us with other kids that aren't even in ESL or don't have those issues? So it's just a good program. So, any questions?
Brad, I see one of the council members that we have on here is also on the resignation list.
Oh, yes. So what, I've already taken care of that. So what we're doing is Chantel is taking over for, so, okay, so how this works, I'll explain this since you asked that question. It's a good question. So what we have to have is we have to have a student rep that works with those kids, that represents them in, when they do the consortium work. So it was Mrs. Hodak this year, and she did a really good job. And the kids really like her, and she works with those kids every day, so they've got a good relationship. So the EL teachers help them choose students that go to that. And it's kind of by who really works hard in class and those kind of things. So what happened, when she decided to leave, I immediately went to Chantel, who was the teacher, and said, would you take this over? And she had done it before, and before she wasn't interested because she had a whole bunch of stuff going on. She was getting her master's and all this other stuff, had an overload. And she agreed to finish the year, and she also agreed to take over for next year. So we have her for 2 years. And then what we're going to do, the other person that's going to help her out is Guado, actually. Okay. So Guado will be going to those as an interpreter since that's something that they need when they get there anyway. So Guado has volunteered, and he'll get a little stipend for that also, which is built into the grant, so good question, though, very good question.
I'm guessing we need a motion for Brad.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Lori, Tom, is there any further discussion or questions? Any further discussion or questions? Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Thank you. Any other questions you guys have for community ed? We did meet, the meetings to keep going on with, we met with the head of freshwater, and we also met with Lisa Wick. So what we were able to, because you guys had asked about this, we were able to, when they did the first submission, we asked for 24 and 15. They did not allow us to do the part-time, so we have 24 seats, is what we are looking at. There is a way to split those seats. I don't know how that works, and that's what we're looking in. We won't find out. So what we did for that, we determined that we're going to at least extend the day. So the day will be extended some, which allows us to use those seats, to be able to use those seats for the Jumpstart program. So, and I'll probably be calling and talking to you, Lisa. I'm having trouble wrapping my head around this, so as you guys know, about how we go from half right up to full. Lisa said there can be a transition year. I don't know if you guys did that or whatever, but.
No, we just went for it.
You went for it, okay.
That's what I would recommend.
Okay, yeah,
The
so,
families love it.
yep. Well, we did ask, so what we did is we handed a little sheet that said, hey, would you be interested in this if this happens? You know, to every parent. I think we had one that said, no, I'd only like to keep them half days because they stay with their grandma but the rest of it was, I mean, yes, where do we sign up?
Yeah.
So we're hoping that all comes out and the other thing is that I did find out, Lisa talked to us about that we can amend the grant once we get it, which I didn't realize, so there can be some changes with that. What happens, the first grant the submission is basically to get permission to do this. And then once we get the seats, then we can make some changes to the grant. Isn't that what you thought they said, Daniel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which seats are what?
Right, yeah, so, and then, we think we've got logistics as far as classrooms and stuff worked out. So I think we're good to go with that, so.
Brad, is this federal or state dollars?
Which one? VPK?
Yeah,
VPK is state,
okay.
yep, sponsored by Minnesota, yep. All right, thank you.
Anything else for community ed? Very good, thank you for doing that.
Very good.
Oh, you are welcome.
Wonderful job.
They made
I
us
like that
proud
very
down there.
well.
They definitely did.
Very good.
All right, now guess we're all invited to the career fair if we want to go.
Yeah, I put that on there, we'd love to have you come. I don't know if we'll have newspapers, last year we had a couple of newspapers that came and covered it, it's kind of a cool thing, so. We've got 35 presentations going on next Friday. And I think there's 13 other, either military, colleges, and then local businesses that are looking for people to work this summer. Will be in the gym, is that right? Does that sound right? Mr. Ruth, does that sound right?
That sounds correct. Yep.
Very good. All right, technology. Any questions for Mitchell? Any comments? Anything?
The bound credit card reader, is that what they use like for the playoffs? Is that like the same thing?
I think, so, yeah,
Okay,
yep, Skylar was the one that worked on that, but,
okay.
yep.
Copy machine, are you happy with, Tammy? The new copy machine? Cool, right, I know.
So far, so good. It's very
Yeah.
large and very quiet, so works best.
It's good. Business manager. Any questions for Sherry?
Sherry, would you share a little bit about what we do with I Love You Guys and Alice?
Sure. So Alice is, it stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, Evacuate. That is what we use, for if there would be, I call them evildoers. If there's an evildoer in the building and students and staff have to make a decision on how they're going to react to that evildoer. Alice dovetails in with a newer program, because Alice goes back, I wanna say I was trained and certified, a good 8-10 years ago, something like that. And then I Love You Guys came about from a mom and dad that lost a daughter in Colorado. And they sort of dovetail together where I Love You Guys becomes a little bit more of a preventative, reach out to students. It does address how to react to an intruder, and then it also takes on the back end of I Love You Guys, where if an evildoer comes and we would have to take students to a separate building, how we would reunify those students. So it gives us a framework to use to work from. It provides a lot of information online that is free to us. And so when I started going to those trainings like this last summer, that's where, when you look at the verbiage by the doors, for example, we changed to try to make a little bit more plain language of what are we doing? Are we in a lockdown? Are we in a secure? Are we in a hold? It goes beyond intruder as well. It will also be used, let's say there's a medical emergency in our hallways, let's say there's a fight in our hallways. We can use terminology where we just hold one wing of classrooms until we deal with that emergency. So I Love You Guys kind of encompasses a more broad perspective beyond Alice. If you go on the I Love You Guys website, it's very robust. There's lots of videos to use. There's lots of free for us letters and signage. Comes in multiple languages. If there's a language we need, we can reach out to them, which I will do, because I believe they do have Haitian Creole, but there's one of our languages they don't have. So if we reach out to them, they'll help us get that. I trained half a day on the staff November 3rd, where we did a recap of Alice, a short recap, and then talked a little bit more about I Love You Guys, the reunification and all that kind of thing. The unfortunate thing about Friday is that we hadn't dealt with for real. And we did the best we could with what we knew at the time. We did a debrief today with Ryan and Officer Stoik from the city police, where they came in, talked to us about what had happened, and we've got a very long list of improvements that we're going to make. We had lots of feedback from the teachers. Tammy and I both reached out to all our teachers to find out, what went wrong, what went good, what can we do better, et cetera, et cetera. So when it happened, we put all this protocol in place. It was just one of those things where since it was the first time around, how does it look? So I know that you guys have been hearing from folks on the outside. Forward them all up to Daniel and the admin staff, because I'm taking all that stuff from the teachers, from the outside, and we're gonna keep improving. We're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna talk to the high school staff on Wednesday, and then we're also gonna recap again on the 23rd on our PD day, and we're gonna continue talking about this and making it better so that teachers are more comfortable. We're gonna also start working on, one of our teachers brought up the backside of all this. I think that that's where a lot of school districts, it's very hard to implement. What does the after stuff look like? What do we do? How do we deal with the students that, especially special ed students, the students that get scared, the students that don't understand. And so we'll be putting together a team of those people as well that deal more with the vulnerable students and making an after action plan that we can implement district-wide. So we're always, always, always looking for improvements. We're always looking for suggestions. And again, if you hear from other people, please forward them, because then we can address everything that comes up and, like I said, continue to do our best, continue to have a plan and go from there. Especially for me, because I'm not out with the students, I've got the overview stuff. I've done a lot of training, I feel like I can do a good implementation. But once it starts trickling down into the students, that's where the admin team is. We're all working together to make sure that our teachers are more comfortable, our students are more comfortable. The hardest part about something like that is, and I tell the staff that, is that the decision you make at the time is the right decision. Because if you think about a tragic event like that, what do you do? What do you do? We didn't know, when the thing went off, we didn't know if it was real or not. When the law enforcement didn't show up after 3, 4, 5 minutes, I got on the cameras and started looking at the hallways, things like that. We also have the ALC in this building, so I called city police and I got Officer Stoik here, and he and I went down to the ALC and he cleared that area to make sure no one was in there, because they also have a button down there. And that's what triggers what went on Friday. And then once that went out and we had looked at all the hallways and determined that false alarm, now how do we release? And what we chose to do at the time, in a real situation, law enforcement would go through and open all the doors. We don't just do an all call saying everybody, because they want to make sure that somebody's not hiding. Because when the officer went through, I'd never been behind one doing that. He was, keeping doors open and, show yourself, that kind of thing. We kind of simulated that whole take the key, go open doors, and, make sure the students know, like we went in and said, everything's good, you're okay, et cetera, et cetera. And we even found out things that way that we need to improve, because we went to one side of the building, went to this side of the building, forgot about band, and down that hallway. And so, those are the things that, from an unfortunate event, we tried to do the best we could to make up for those problems, and now we have a list. So, yep.
How much of the staff was trained in this, Alice and the
I love you.
All of them. All of them that came to the November 3rd. We made it a requirement for food service, maintenance, clerical. We invited St. Mary's. We brought in Aximit. We brought in city police. We invited all the partners that would go along. What we did was we did a approximately 3 to 4 hour training where we had Brian from the city talk first about like law enforcement side of things. And then I did mine. And then at the end, we did a half hour where we did, I called them tabletop exercises. I didn't know what else to call them. Where I had, for example, Audrey took the clerical staff. I had all the people in my office. Mitchell took technology. Jenny was helping with like the Aximit and itinerant people. Bonnie took the food service. Cindy took the maintenance. I had Jessica Richter and Dustin Blease take the paras. They had gone to training with us too because they do our after school program, because we also have to implement this for after school and weekends to try and get some sort of training for folks that use our building that aren't on staff 100% of the time. So Jessica and Dustin took the paras, and then I took the teachers. And we all did a tabletop debrief where we let people ask their one-on-one questions. And then after I had the information from all those folks, then I put together a list at the next PD where I stood up and just did a recap for everybody again of what came out of the tabletops. So, everybody.
So that alarm was part of the fire alarm system, like it's the whole system together in one?
Let me jump in on that one.
Okay.
Mitchell also does quite a bit with security on the technology side. And so this particular one, the trigger originated in the elementary, and the best we can figure, it was a faulty wiring, like a blip on Wednesday. We're gonna pull all the wire behind the button out. And so when it got triggered, it didn't call the police, because in order to call the police, you have to push the button all the way up. And since it was a blip, it's like a sequence of events, so it wasn't triggered long enough to go through the full sequence. And so we are taking a look at some of the wiring that happened with the security system and fixing and adjusting that. Was some of that from this summer?
Yes, still left over from the bad install.
Yeah, so
But we didn't expect this because everything's been quiet and nothing was touched.
we had contested some of that and gotten some of that fixed.
I'm also possibly blaming it on, it could be a mouse that ran through the ceiling and caught the wire. We don't know. That's why we're gonna look into it. Because everything's been quiet for months, so.
And then the fire alarm, so when it calls out to the police, it goes through the fire alarm panel. So the fire alarm that went off over at the secondary school, there was a bad sprinkler head, and basically it thought that there was something wrong in the HVAC system. And then that turned out to be a fault, like it was a false read. But earlier in the year, we had a few times, and it usually happened when there was a power blip. So our fire alarm panel, which you'll see that we have a quote for repairing that later, is like 30 years old, about 10 years past its expected life expectancy. And so when we had these power blips, there's a communication happens between the lockdown and the fire panel. And the fire panel's in zones, so like, it tells you which zone something got set off. One of the zones is lockdown, and so when we have the blip, it triggered the lockdown. That's why it happened with the fire. That's the one that happened at the beginning of the school year, and we've had a few on the weekends. That's why we want to get the fire panel replaced, because I believe it's just a communication issue between the two. The one's extremely old. It's doing we've had extremely few issues with it for its age. And so that fire alarm will send out the calls, so like call police, different emergency, and so we're tied in that way. Mitchell, am I missing anything on those?
No, I mean, the system knows where the alarm was pushed. The police will go to that building because they will be informed. It's a complicated system. Keep running.
One of the things that we had done too before COVID, we had what we called the security team, where we would meet quarterly with our staff our safety committee, fire chief, these were the folks invited. And most of them showed up. We had the fire chief, we had city police, the sheriff's department, Aximate, and any other first responders that wanted to come and show up. And we would meet before school, and we would talk about, the what ifs, that kind of stuff. And when Ryan and Officer Stoik were here this morning, in the interim of that day, we did a debrief of, what could we have done better, what would they have done better, and then verbally we also talked about we're gonna start those up again. Because actually a lot of personnel has changed, school, law enforcement, the whole thing, so, because that was back when, Langer was still chief and I think Steve Ogden was still sheriff, so, yep.
When you started this conversation, you said you weren't sure if it was real or not.
Yes,
Should you always think it's real?
we always think it's real.
Yeah.
Yep,
What gave you the inclination it might not be because the police weren't showing up?
that was exactly what it was. When 3 to 5 minutes went by and the police weren't here, was when I hit the cameras.
Well, that's good to know, because that's a good
Yes.
explanation.
First thing I did too is I also called each office, their personal cell phone, they said, did you guys push the button? They said, no. So then I knew right away, and then I went and looked in the logs, and I could see that it was it's a one thing. It didn't do the list of events that we have tons of things that happen. I mean, doors closed, lights go, I mean, it's a big deal. We only did that one thing, just the announcement, that was it.
So we all have roles. I have roles, Sherry,
Yeah.
Mitchell, our two building principals, Mr. Rue, Mrs. Vila, and we're generally all doing something.
And our biggest thing, besides getting all of as much as we can predict, addressed, how do we do this, how do we do that, then my next goal really is to, for example, get this all written down so that all the offices, all of us have been trained on what needs to get done. Because as soon as somebody's not here, who steps in and does it? What do they need to do? Again, a person has to get it as close as they can and as best they can, and that's why it's very helpful for me when I hear from other people. When we did the emails out to both buildings, I emailed both buildings and said, tell me what I need to know. Tell me what you saw, tell me what happened. And again, if you guys forward what you hear, that'd be fantastic, because that's the only way we can address all that stuff, and hopefully we can get enough training in, and the more we keep building on it, we hope to never use it by the time at least I retire. But, but we gotta be prepared. We gotta be prepared, yep.
I think a lot of the feedback that I've received from community members has been the communication with parents, and I think they felt like there's a lack of an explanation of why this happened, and there hasn't been a really clear message sent to the community of like what happened and how we're going to improve it.
And that's where I like to have the conversations as well, because again, and especially having admin, honestly, working together and having that, the way I would communicate is very different from the principals, because they have their finger on the pulse of what do teachers expect, what do parents expect, what do kids expect. And so that going forward and how we had our conversations today is, we'll be working together to figure out what does it look like, what's the best thing, what's the best message to say.
So I guess then follow up on that.
Yep.
Looking through the second message I sent out, there really wasn't an explanation as to why it happened. And I know you're still in the discovery. Yeah, you're still in the discovery phase. But is there something additional information that's going to be sent out or provided to everybody that explains it a little bit better? Because I think right now people are still kind of like, I don't think the message really hit home and explained the situation.
Later we have the fire alarm panel on there, and we've had our debriefs, so there's definitely information we can provide about like what we've been doing with the system.
Right.
And the conversations we've had now.
Right. I mean, and I think that's good information to pass out. And like, I think if community members are watching right now, they'll have a fairly good understanding or explanation as to why this took place, but unless you're watching it, you may not.
Right, absolutely, and anybody's welcome to reach out to me directly too, if they want to, I'm more than happy to take those. The other thing going forward that I Love You Guys does provide is that there are talking points for students, like videos that they've put out on, directed towards students on what to expect. There's videos they have out there to parents saying, here's what we're doing to protect your students, here's what to expect. We've also talked about doing that at back to school as well, providing, or when we do like a parent potpourri that they've done in the past, where we've had, what we've done before is when we had those families come up with, of the different cultures and talk about their culture, we've talked about doing that same thing with parents and giving them the opportunity. We'd have to prepare something that is appropriate, and I'm not ready to do that right now, but that's in the future too, is to say, I'm hoping this summer and by next school year, having that available, that if parents choose to come, do it in the auditorium and give the parent side of this and let them also relay their, you know, their wants, their frustrations, maybe do the explanations, you know, if we can, but at least know what parents are thinking and stuff, and then also incorporate the student side of it as well. So.
So, have we fixed or found what made this happen?
Not yet.
And can we bring somebody in to do
They're,
that?
they're coming, already on the schedule.
Okay,
They called immediately.
It's a Wednesday, that was.
We're gonna replace everything for the wiring, for the buttons. So
Okay.
both buildings.
I'm guessing
I
that's
just
not an
don't-
easy thing to do?
No, it's gonna take a lot of time. I just don't trust it. I mean, this has happened twice now, so we're not gonna keep going forward with that.
well, I think it's good to know that it hasn't been found yet, so that if it happens again, it's real, but,
Yeah.
you know, we know that it could happen again.
Like I said, it could just be a broken wire in the ceiling, it could be air blowing on it, just something that just happened. And there's no explanation for it, so.
Well, it gives us a chance to talk about too, because, you know, I'm always rethinking how something could have gone better. And then my thoughts were, should I have gotten on the sound system and I'm not saying this would have happened, but do I start saying that I'm looking down hallways and I don't see anything? You know, it's hard to know what's appropriate at the time, but I start thinking about what would make it easier, better, but then all of a sudden the evildoer pops out and now what, you know, so.
And I do wanna say within 5 to 10 minutes, we did let the students know by PA. They weren't allowed to leave the room and we were gonna let them out, but we calmed them down and just said, it's looking like it's nothing and you can breathe a sigh of relief and we'll just be around to help you out. And that's what we did.
Lisa, what were you gonna say?
I was disappointed that the board wasn't told what was going on, and my expectation in the future is if something like this happens, that we would be not that we're gonna tell anyone what's happening, we'll forward it to you guys, but that way when parents are speaking to us, we're not like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
Because it doesn't feel good to be in the dark about things.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, yeah, because I mean, honestly, you're gonna be the first ones to hear, we just know that's what's gonna happen, that in Facebook. We're gonna be the first ones talking about it,
Absolutely.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else for right now? Otherwise, if anything else comes up, please let me know. Please forward or please ask.
It was good that you took it seriously and that you, even though after you found out that it may be a false alarm, you still took those steps forward to kind of, at that point in time, work it as a drill and just to kind of go through those steps. And
Well, and the other, I mean, the word to say that it's not necessarily the best thing to say it was a good thing it happened, because it was not. But the time that it happened being lunch hour was opportune in the fact that we know we've gotta make adjustments, we know we've gotta make changes, and we know we have to plan for that. Because when you look at statistics for school, lunch, when people are in the building, concerts and stuff, you gotta be prepared, because, you know, statistically, that is a high opportunity. So the unfortunate part was the timing let us know that you got work to do.
So say we have children outside, we have an area where they can go, not back in the building, don't we?
Correct. And that is a conversation, we've designed rally points, per the Alice protocol, and the staff knows where those rally points are. What I've done when I've done my training is that I've told staff that the decision you make at the time is the right decision, because I can't have anybody second guessing what they're going to do, because if some people hesitate, does that put them in danger or not? And so mostly I want people to think about the what ifs. If I'm over by music, what would I do? If I'm over by FIED, what would I do? And so I've given them the opportunity to say, make the decision you think you need to make. So that's part of our conversation that I've written down is the students on the playground, should they have come back in or should they have gone to our rally point? And again, that's not a definite yes or no right now. Because it depends on, it's nice that they had their coats on, but we found that out with the fire drill that happened, half the kids had coats and half didn't, half had their stuff and half didn't. And that's another one, just to put that out there in conjunction with this, Barton is gonna be meeting with Aximit and we're gonna be getting a protocol with Aximit on the fire and this as well. What do we do with the students when they're on the bus? Do we send them, do we keep them, and then that'll also carry over in the summertime. We had that this past summer where there was a tornado or bad storm that went through. We had kids on the bus, we pulled them in, we put them in the tornado shelter. Once we have those procedures in place, we can stand behind those procedures. And when parents get upset that, hey, you're not letting my kid out of the building and I wanna take them home, we can say, this is our procedure, we stand behind it, we want all our kids safe, you're welcome to come in here with them. So, yeah, we're working with Aximit on that as well, so, yeah.
There are
Always
so many,
room for improvement.
yep, but there's so many things you have to think about.
Yep, a lot of facets. So again, please let me know. Please let me know what people are saying, and again, if you want me to reach out and talk to folks, I'm more than happy to do that as well. So, okay?
Thank you, Sherry.
Charlie, I see you're here.
Yeah.
Need it. Want me to step up?
Yep.
Okay, so if any of you don't know me, I'm Charlie Steer, the golf coach for Browerville and Long Prairie. I've taught in Browerville for about 10 years now. I think it's actually right on 10 years. Since I took over golf about 5 years ago, it's kind of exploded. I had started with 4 or 5 kids. This year I'm looking at possibly 33 now. Numbers more and more keep coming in, and actually on my sheet here I had to white out my numbers a couple times because even today, this afternoon, it was more and more coming in. First thing I want to say is my board at Browerville does not know I'm here. I came to you guys first to talk to you to hopefully get some support. Like I said, we're seeing some very large growth in golf and more and more so out of Long Prairie in the last 3 years. 3 years ago it was 1 from Long Prairie, last year was 5, now we're up to 9 this year. So it's growing pretty quickly. And that's exactly the same thing that I saw in Browerville when I first took over. Started with 4 and then it just kept snowballing after that. Last year I had a fairly good amount of students and a lot more girls, which is great. Last year was kind of the first year that we've had any girls out for golf. But it also kind of created a problem with our transportation. I tried to make it work the first time and I made it to Pillager in a van with 9 people, golf clubs and carts all in one van. And I got there and I said, this is not gonna work anymore. So I called Jenny Aximit right away and we started kind of trying to find some ideas, and it came down to us. Basically, we did buses last year and the team was we did buses for JV, and that kind of forced us to send more girls over to JV, and they were very open to that, but I would like to see more varsity meets to get them more exposure. And overall, last year we had 6 varsity meets, 4 JV meets, so 10 meets total. And I sat down with some numbers from Jenny, and came down to, for a total of 10 meets, it was right about $4,000 for buses just to get them to the meet and back. And we made it work with varsity taking vans last year and JV taking buses, but I don't like that idea this year. For one reason, safety of students. That was dumb. We got there, and when I stopped and looked back at the van, and I go, if we got in an accident, the people in the back of the van are not making it out. That's plain and simple. And I've seen that in my own endeavors on the ambulance and fire, and I don't want to go there. So basically, I'm coming here to ask to see if you guys would be willing to pay for just buses for our meets, half of the transportation cost. Like I said, roughly 4,000 total would be 2,000 from 2,000 from Browerville. I have not talked to them yet to see what their thoughts are on this. I was coming to you guys first, one being the host school, and 2, knowing what some of my board members think of golf over there. They're not super supportive of it. So just wanted to come and talk to you guys. Some numbers wise, 9 kids from Long Prairie, the rest are from Browerville. From Long Prairie, we're looking at probably 6 starters for sure, spread across JV and varsity for Long Prairie. 6 of those 9 kids are probably gonna be golfing at every meet. The other 3 I don't know yet, because they're out new this year and I have not seen what they're about. And then the other 6 starters would be from Browerville. Girls varsity, boys varsity, I can take 12 total, 6 on each team, and then JV I can take 6 on each team as well. Sometimes they allow more, but yeah, so varsity would be kind of an even split. More girls from Long Prairie on varsity than boys. I think I got 2 from varsity boys from Long Prairie, and then got more girls out this year from Long Prairie, which is great. Loving having a girls team. It's kind of fun too. So, you guys have any questions?
How can you coach 33 students a day?
Well, I've started having to do rotations on the driving range, and luckily I do have, last year we got an assistant coach. Before it was myself, but usually we split them up at the driving range, at the golf course, and then at the putting and chipping greens. We start off doing that, and then we move on and get them out on the course. And before, when it was just me, I'd send them all on the course, and then I'd get on a cart and I'd bop around the course and maybe play or walk them through half of a hole, and then jump over to the next group and try to spread so thin. I'm trying to help as many as I can, but you know, that's how that goes. But yeah, and I think you guys see, I hope you guys see some of the fundraising we've been doing. I'm trying different things this year with the fundraising, but we've done meat raffles in the past. Our sponsorship, putting sponsorship, there's these new golf carts that are coming around. I just ordered 50 more of those today from the company because they're selling pretty fast. I have 0 left, none. I ordered 150, they're all gone. We've helped out in the course running mini games during some of their tournaments in the summer. We've gotten a food truck to come in and do food truck days at the course during tournaments. And the list, chili feed, every year we do a chili feed. The list goes on of things we've tried to do to raise money. And we've been pretty fortunate on what we've been able to do. I think we've got to be close to making $10,000 to $12,000 a year, and that's about what it takes to run a whole season without all this extra cost. So I've been going to the Lions. Last year I did not go to the Lions. That's for money. This year I will be to help kind of combat that too. But yeah.
There's a fundraising that started out to pay the coaches, wasn't it?
Yes, and it does still do that. Yes, it still does do that. Yep. And even if we just, like I said, we're just starting off with buses, and if we were willing to do that, we'd still do all the fundraising to cover all the coaches' fees, the green fees, our conference fees, medals and awards. What else? There's a whole bunch of them. Minnesota State High School League fees. going down to section meets, which before I started coaching, we never did before because they didn't have, well, to my knowledge, they didn't have the money. It turns out they did, and then they just never went, and I don't know what happened there. But we've been going every year, and then every year since I've taken over, I've never seen a year where we've backstepped and gotten worse. We've just gotten better and better every year. Last year, we were able to place third at one meet and fourth and fifth of the rest. And there's usually 10 schools at every meet. And this year, if we get a day where the boys are golfing together as a group really well, it would not surprise me if we pulled a second place off, maybe a first. We'd be pushing it for a first, but definitely within a second. So, yeah, and they've just gotten better and better. Watching the older ones, they even sit down with the older ones to help coach once they get up there. I've got a couple guys that graduated last year that started in 7th grade with me, and fabulous working with the 7th graders as they were seniors, so it's a big help. Any other questions?
Well, we all know that golf is a lifelong sport.
It is.
And just, families do it, and it's just so, I mean, me personally would not have a problem sharing that cost, $2,000 if we'd stick to that amount. I would not be surprised with a sticker shock or something.
And if I'm ballparking, I got to be within a couple $100 at 4,000, but if it was 4 or 5, I'm not gonna come back and ask for another $250 from each. I would just say, let's just cover that with our fundraiser stuff and get it taken care of, so. Biggest thing though too is if we start doing this, and I have a feeling it's just gonna continue to grow, the golf team, I would appreciate it if I didn't have to come back every year and ask every year, if we made it an ongoing thing. But if I do need to come back and ask, and then if, stuff takes a turn, which I don't think it will for less kids, we can change that later. But yeah, that's.
It's such a minimal cost for an impact that has on these kids, seriously.
It's minimal, I like you to say that, it's huge. It's huge. It's a lot of money for us to fundraise.
I think at that point, if you're getting bigger and bigger, kids are doing well, gets to be a discussion between the athletic directors and the districts and find out if we need to relook at our agreement.
Okay.
So,
sure.
I have no problem either with sending a little money. I would bet Kelsey would almost have her budget some money left over.
She's fabulous to work with, by the way.
She's a very good kid.
Did you say you've run this, you have or have not run this past the Barville board yet?
I have not yet, no. I have not. I don't know how they will take it. I'm hoping that if you guys decided to agree to it, that would be, for lack of better words, the smoking gun to make them kind of do it. Because I think it would look kind of bad if they chose not to after you all decided to do that.
Does their Legion or anybody, do they have
He
anything
doesn't
that
know about
fundraises for your
our working
community?
agreements.
Sorry, what was that?
Do they have anything in your community that fundraises for
For golf?
Yeah, for
Home?
any sport, really? You must have some organization.
Yes, the biggest one they do is that they do the Tigers golf outing, the alumni tournament in the summer, which then that's the money they use to pay for all of the students' athletic fees. That's how they get around having the
Maybe
whatever.
they come up with $2,000 though because they need to golf.
Right.
Pretty good people to approach.
I would make the motion to approve the $2,000 in transportation.
I would say
Taking
that.
good advice, man.
Well, we have a motion on the floor.
In a second.
You got a second? So Jeremiah and Tanya, upon the successful discussion with Barville,
Sure.
split that transportation cost to the town, tune of $2,000.
Okay.
And go from there, I think. Is that good enough for you, Jenny? We had a motion by Jeremiah, second by Tanya. Any further discussion or questions? Any further discussion or questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Could we just say, we'll put 2,000 out there? If they do it or not, we'll do it. And hopefully they'll just follow suit.
Yeah, I think you should talk to those tournament people. I bet they'd set out $2,000 right away for you.
I'm gonna go to their next board
I
meeting.
mean, seeing is that's their fundraiser.
Right.
All right, but we have a motion and a second and a discussion, and how about we go from there?
Yep.
Okay, no further discussion? Any question you got? Nope. You were gonna think, I heard it.
I didn't know it was that rusty and moved. I was like, I could always, I mean, if that was the route we wanted to go, I could always modify my motion, but, no, okay.
It'll work. Come back and talk at us again, whatever.
I'll let you know what they say as well, and what they do, so.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, you guys, appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Should I stay? No. You guys good?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, and we are down to health office. Did you want to speak at us, or just reading your stuff?
It's lengthy. Does
I
anybody have any
noticed that.
questions? I can, whatever you guys.
You guys have any questions or concerns for Melissa? Is it good?
We're here with the CERT grant, right?
Yeah, I can talk about that a little bit. So I just sent an email the State Department had put out, if you want me to come up or.
Sure.
The State Department had put out a listing of everybody that got the grant. They had quite a bit that were interested in it and pursued it, but I think if you read your emails tonight, that came out. It was pretty cool to see our name on it. That's Sherry, Mr. Ludwigson, and Kelsey and myself that worked on that. So Daniel provided a lot of the actual writing, and we put forth the information and kind of got it all gathered up so that he could do that. So
Well, they're individual talents.
yeah. So and I went to one of my LSN meetings for our central area, and no one else had even applied for it. So it was pretty cool to be there. And the lady from Project Adam, which is listed on my talking points too, that we're going to be working with, she was there, and so that was kind of nice to meet her. I'll kind of go through that. That's kind of what we want to talk about. Basically, right now, Project Adam is going to be coming here during workshop week, and we're going to run through hands-only CPR. So they actually have, I saw it at my last conference that I went to, it's just like a blow-up person, and everybody gets one, and we're going to go through actually teaching hands-only CPR on those. I think we agreed, the whole staff, we kind of wanted to do it, Sherry. And coaching staff will be invited to that too. And then we also have our red teams in each building. We've had those for a number of years. So a lot of this we've already put into place before the CERP kind of was required by schools, or they were telling us that this was required. So then after we train the staff, we're going to run through mock scenarios in each building. We also talked about how we'd like to have support police, maybe Centricare, the ambulance kind of come and do those mock scenarios with us. And the lady from Project Adam will be there and kind of go through it. It's part of the program. So we'll do that afterwards at the high school building, and then we'll come over here and run the same scenario. And she said it'll take probably an hour and 15 minutes for the whole staff, and ours roughly for the mock drills will be maybe 30 to 45 minutes at each building. And we'll go through and actually perform CPR on our mannequins, have our team come. We actually want to have, say Mr. Hudala is the person that calls and says he needs help in his room, go over the loudspeaker and practice that. We've had a few incidences this school year where people call up to the office and say, Audrey, I need somebody down in this room. And I'm like, why aren't they calling for the red team, like over the loudspeaker? And the one, she said she was panicked. She's like, I forgot what it even was supposed to do. But again, we don't practice those things. So that's another thing that I've talked with Mr. Root about, is maybe making these into kind of like our drills, having it, during the school day. We used to do morning practices, now actually taking the time to call like and have a mannequin in a room and have that teacher, you know, maybe it's a study hall, so it's not disrupting an actual class, but have it being a study hall and that person calls over the loudspeaker, our whole team responds, and then we do an actual scenario and go through, and it maybe won't always be CPR, maybe it's EpiPen use, maybe it's, you know, a seizure medication, maybe it's naloxone for an overdose, and just running through each one of those things, because unless, you know, we don't get to practice those all the time, obviously, you hope you don't have to, but being prepared to be able to do those things. So I think it's really good that we're gonna have the support and also have the grant funding to help us get, you know, new supplies, things that we're really gonna need to do some of these things too. Some of it does entail buying new mannequins, buying some of those products that we can use to help with training. Is there anything else you can think of with the SERP that you wanted?
The AEDs.
Yes, we have some AEDs that we'll order, and then outdoor cabinets that are built for the weather resistance. So I believe one at the football field and then one at the baseball, like a little further out. You're supposed to be able to reach the AED in 3 minutes. So some of those fields that are out further from the high school, that might be a little tricky to get into the school and run it all the way back in a 3-minute time period. So I think Kelsey and I had decided that we want one out there too. And then, I don't think if there's anything else with that. But those are the main ones. And then, travel ones too. We had purchased some more AEDs for travel purposes so that more teams would be able to take them with them on the road. So all of those things, we just got, you know, the go-ahead to be able to actually order. We've known we've had the SERP grant funding. We just had to get that actual okay. Now you can order and we'll reimburse you for what you buy. So, yeah, and the next thing I'm working on myself personally is writing the actual SERP. It's kind of, the state has an actual, you know, guideline for how to do it. We have a lot of it in place. It just needs to be put on paper now. And Project Adam will also help schools with that. So that's the point that I'm at. We've already built our teams. We've already done all the pre-steps. We just have to put it in place, and it's due, I think it's July 1st that I think schools have to have it, and then they implement it next school year. So
And we're already,
that's a pretty big one. So,
we learned a lot about emergency responses tonight.
yeah, we've talked a lot
A lot
about
of people
it.
come back, watch the board meeting.
Questions?
Do you have a kit that the head of the red team grabs with an EpiPen or?
Yep. So, so each team member has a job. Typically, you know, the nurses, since we have our orange bags in each of the health offices, we grab those. Guado, for instance, at the high school, he usually gets the AED. We have somebody that's assigned to be the recorder, so they jot down the time and the events of everything. You know, sometimes everybody's there, sometimes we're lacking a person. So people have been really good about stepping in. We've had some scenarios this year where we've had to have the red teams come at both buildings. And yeah, it's kind of like everybody has a job and we do it. And it's pretty straightforward, I guess, but we haven't had many team members drop out or change. They get certified for a 2-year period, and then at that time, if they choose not to, they can tell me, like, I don't want to do this anymore, and then I can ask staff if they want, you know, if we want somebody else. But I've only think I have one person that's maybe left in the last year or so everybody's pretty much primarily stayed the same. And then I also train the LPGE staff too, and a lot of those do both. They'll be on a red team and they work at LPGE, so that's kind of nice because they're dual purpose that way. So, yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Any further questions for Melissa?
In your account of illnesses or whatever, last month or so, there were like 600 some headaches.
I heard there was a headache discussion.
So I had asked the question, could there be something in the air? Could it be the lights? We talked about all that stuff. Are we looking into that? That's a lot of headaches.
So generally speaking, headaches are dehydration, lack of sleep, and not eating. And we have a lot of that. a lot of times, I go through those three things with the kids. Sometimes they're willing to admit that they didn't sleep last night because they played video games, and sometimes they're willing to admit that they haven't drank much today, or no, I didn't eat, I don't like what's for breakfast. Then usually I have food in either of my offices, so we offer that up, or we do, you know, a 10-minute timer, get to lay down and rest in a dark, quiet space. And I would say a very large percentage of time, those things work. So,
I just wondered, I just thought that was so, it just climbed and I thought, well,
and sometimes they're related to, you know, sickness and stuff. When we log students in the office, say they present and they have, you know, I have a headache, I have, you know, chills, I have, you know, my throat hurts, all of those things get logged. All three are presenting as that's the office visit. When I run reports and get the data, it'll say, you know, all those things separately. So it's gonna count, so that one visit might have been for, you know, 5 different ailments. So, but it is a lot, but it's also one thing that they can't, like, I can't prove that they don't have to. So it could be sometimes that they're just saying that, who knows, but,
headache, you know?
yeah.
You know, interesting enough, like, I was at a school once where they reduced the headaches by having everybody have a water bottle.
Yeah.
So they drank water.
We do, at the elementary, we give out water bottles. The Delta Dental Program sends us those backpacks every year, and they have them in 20 student increments, so I always end up getting more because we, you know, I can only get in the amounts of 20 and over. Each you know, package comes in. So I give out water bottles a lot in the elementary. The high schoolers I don't know, I feel like they're permanently dehydrated. They don't like to drink water. I don't know what it is, but.
It doesn't fit in their locker.
Okay, maybe, I don't know what the thing is. I've asked them and they're like, I don't know. And then I always tell them, like, there's no way you're getting the amount of water that you should drink just by going to the water fountain, because I'll just get it at the water fountain. I'm like, okay, but that's not enough. So some of those things, maybe 10 years ago, I feel like we had that big water bottle push and every kid got one and they all ran around with them. And now, unless they're the teenage stage, they're not walking around with water bottles. And I can't get them to. I offer to give them to them and they're like, I don't want to be seen with that. I don't know, it's not cool. I have no idea why, so I do try and encourage it, but.
We can be honest, 90% of your visits are probably my daughters, so.
Oh, sometimes I don't see any kid, like it's interesting, like if I pull reports and I can see all the kids that I've seen and then how many times I've seen them, if you look at it, it's interesting that I probably haven't even seen, you know, 25% of the actual students in the school. It's more seeing the same students repeatedly for differing things, so. And some of them need to see me, medications, diabetes, you know, they need to see me, so. See us, I should say. Oh, yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you very kindly.
Yeah,
absolutely. Principals reports. Any questions for our principals?
Mr. Rood,
Yeah.
do you know how many kids are going on this trip next week?
Count off the top of my head? No, I don't.
62. Would you like to tell a little bit about the band trip?
Oh, yeah. Mr. Spear is quickly organizing. He's done a fantastic job of that. We're gonna be doing a bag check on that coming up next week, and we're gonna be ready to go with, as I said, 62 students. I think the biggest thing going is just the fact that it's travel time, and that's a big thing with the kids. And that they're gonna be set to go, and I expect nothing. We've always had very good turnout with the kids. We had an episode a couple of years ago before they went, but that was small. I don't expect anything to go wrong with that at all. I'm gonna have Mr. Spear come back and give us a report on that. I'm not expecting anything wrong with that whatsoever. I do want to bring up, I did leave you some information though on that, a couple of things on that fire alarm. We do have a plan meeting, I set that up, I built a framework for it. The bigger thing that My bigger concern was working with Axamet with that whole thing, because we have a couple things. When we're off campus, Tammy and I, we have to have that notification. Kudos to Mitchell, he's already on top of that with our fire alarm system. I think once we get that sorted out, it's gonna be smoother and cleaner and everything. The concern always is what kind of procedures are set up. So we're working with Axamet to build those procedures, because what we quickly found out when we go through these, and I know, I'm not gonna harp on this because Sherry did a fantastic job with this, but you're finding out where those gaps are at. And we're working with Axamet to build, because I can't go to the bus drivers and say, you need to do this. So I have to work with Axamet to build that. And they're more than willing. I already had a conversation with Jenny. So I didn't get to call her today, but it'll probably be the end of the week or next week. I want Mr. Ludwig's to be there, obviously, so it's gonna be most likely next week, but I'm gonna sit around the table. Now, I did have an interesting conversation with Officer Strike, because he came in later that day after the lockdown. And it was, I don't want this, I want this to get out, because it's very important. This is a compliment he had from him to us as an officer of law. He said, hey, that went wrong today in the sense of the electronics. But here's the thing, he said, from my perspective, the human element, spot on. And I think that's so important, because we've done, I mean, this goes back to Sherry and Mr. Ludwigson, that training that we have going on and that we're implementing, especially with the new I Love You guys. That's a very important part, because I was subbing that day. That hour I was subbing, we were short. So I got a first-hand view on the other side of that. You know, it's easy when you're up in the office. We've got our zones that we're going out to. We talked about communication today, having communication devices. Mitchell's already working on that. Kudos to him on that. And seeing what the kids automatically, boom, they were already on top of it, knew exactly what to do. Now, I'm sure it was replicated because they saw that over the elementary when they came over here. So I think that needs to be broadcast out, that we've got that human element down. That's a good part, because electronics can fail, things can go wrong. If you have that human element, they're adjusting as you're going, and that's what we're doing. Is not every situation is gonna be the same. I took a lunch break later in the day for that fire alarm because things happen. I didn't get a lunch and I thought, well, I'll go up and take my lunch now, so you remember. I was up at the post office and Mr. Olympics would come. These things happen. How do you react? Well, people are in place, we have that, we're making those adjustments. You find where the gaps are, we'll build a framework, we readjust with Axamet. You need to do this with bus drivers, we need this, the buses will bring it over there. So that's not a bad thing, and it's good to hear that from the officer's perspective, that human element is there, so kudos. And another kudos to Mr. Gansky as we're going through this. He takes these things very personally because he's working really hard to put that electronics portion in, and that's a Bearcat. I'm telling you, there's a lot of systems that gotta talk to each other. And he's on top of it, they're done, and I know he takes that stuff very, very personally, so he needs to stay on top. Because he's on top of that stuff, and I appreciate that, I really do, so. But other than that, good stuff. I mean, these are all things that we're gonna be fixing. I talk to other principals, we're miles ahead of other schools. And I hear that from officers, that we're miles ahead of other schools. That makes me feel good, because we're taking this stuff seriously. I mean, the last training we went to, we talked about who wasn't there. So I think that says a lot, so. Yeah. So if you have any questions, I tried to outline things for you on there. If you have any questions, let us know. Yeah, so. Well, mine's racing with things here, so. Oh, and compliments to I was making my rounds last week, and I was in Jill's in the fax room, and I said, can you guys come to the board meeting? Because they just got back from their their postcard competition. They did very well. And to be able to do the things that they outlined, that's pretty fantastic for our kids. So it's a good example of our kids. Yeah, so there's that. So if you do have any questions on that stuff, let me know.
Sir, do you know how many chaperones are on the band trip?
I think he's got 4 right now, I think 4 or 5, 4. I thought he had 4 at the time I talked to him, he was working on the 5th one, he had 4 at the time.
And they're staying in hotels overnight?
What's that?
You're staying in hotels in different
Yes.
rooms?
Isn't that pretty standard?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's, when we did our band trips in high school, you know, we stayed in multiple.
It's no different than FFA or hockey trips or.
When we went to Hawaii, those several times, you're all on different floors, and we tried to make sure a chaperone was on each floor, or at least as close as possible.
Don't worry, we worked out ways to get away.
I did.
I mean, no, I was a good student, I didn't do any of that.
I believe that.
We've always, the kids have always been fantastic, we've never had concerns with that. We plan for those things, that's why I asked for both, so we'll go. I'm not expecting this band trip to be any different than any other, so very confident in that. If anything, Mr. Spear is over-prepared in some of those things, so that's.
Well, I think
How many
he has
years has he been
separate.
doing this? Band trip. I didn't mean to.
Oh, my stars, I think that goes back well before my tenure here.
Before he was even here, he was doing band trips.
Yeah, he's Underwood, so.
I think besides the chaperones and parents, you have to count Mr. Lamb and Mr. Spears, because they're also adults going with. So I mean, there's more there, I think, sometimes.
Just one of the parents
Yep.
comment, that's why I asked.
Oh,
Easier minds.
we would never send kids off, I don't think, but.
Yeah, but I didn't even know they were going. So when they said that, I said, Colorado? I thought that they were making a trip to down Florida. I did.
That's the one that got canceled.
Yeah, that one got canceled, so they were gonna go, he was gonna find something else.
Reschedule it.
And how did we hear about this one? Yeah. They were going to Colorado?
Yeah.
Oh, because I don't think we knew that there was scope.
Mine was, she was pregnant for a long time already, so, and she had surgery, but anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're going and they'll have a good time and they'll do musical things, both groups, so. Should be good. Any further questions for the principals? Okay, board people, anybody go anywhere, learn anything fun, new and exciting? I will tell you one little tidbit. The negotiating team has been working our little fannies off. I think we're getting done, sort of. So, we've been busy. Superintendent?
Well, we got a few other grants I'm working on, the solar grant, it's their time, and working on a report for updating on the innovative projects grant. We have like some stuff with weight rooms and little bikes and stuff, so I look forward to seeing what how the teachers have been doing with that. I think everyone was, Mrs. Pesta's continued expansion of the reading resources there. As we've been working quite hard on negotiations, but is there any questions on my report? I did note that we had some fluctuations in enrollment, and then we take a look at it. So we had a fair amount of students go to the ALC and online programs. Was something to note.
How much more, because the special ed funding, are they increasing it, like by a lot? Do you think?
I think we'll be lucky to keep what we have.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be going to the Region 5 Day at the Capitol on Wednesday. And the big thing I'm watching is the compensatory aid. The thing that came up with special ed is like, for a while there, we were worried we'd lose ATSIS funds, which isn't special ed, but special ed runs through the special ed formula. And presently, we're under the impression that that's to stay around. We're hoping next cycle to add the high school onto the grant application. So that's one of the reasons we started doing the standardized tests also up there, because we couldn't apply last time because we didn't have that data. To answer your question?
Yep. Cause I didn't know if it was like a little increase or if they were just kind of saying it, you know, like what it really was. Cause it seems like that's one of the areas that seems to keep it increasing.
Well, the cost keeps increasing. I never misinterpreted you, but like, their commission's supposed to try to figure out, Blue Ribbon Commission, how to contain the cost. And if they can't find a way to contain the cost, supposedly, they were looking at potential cuts to special ed. Because the costs of special ed keep rising. In our freshwater unit, like a lot of our schools are over 20%, and you know, ideally you would be under 20% with students that need specialized instruction. But that's a trend we're seeing across the country though too, especially with speech and language.
When does the ALC lease end? Are we terminating it prematurely?
I do believe it's premature, but it'd be at the end of the year, because then next year it's going to go online.
Are they using the building at all right now? Do they still have classes there?
I believe they still have some classes, but their numbers have gotten thin. So I don't know what the numbers are top of my head, but it's a small student teacher ratio, which is why they were looking at closing the Long Prairie Center.
So right now you don't know the answer to my question when the lease is up or when it's terminated. You're still paying rent.
June
As of
30th,
now, right?
it said in the packet.
Yeah, the board book, it says June 30th. June 30 is what's in our packet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a mutual termination and lease agreement document.
So we have to approve this.
In the board book, it was 2028 when the lease would officially end, but this is a mutual termination.
Yeah.
30th of June this year.
Correct.
Anything further for Mr. Ludwigson? Board minutes?
So I did one on the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law, which, you know, I went a little bit into that the law is really a combination of what is the verbatim words written, the intent of the law, case law, and then administrative. And the administrative one is like the stuff you get into where the president changes and now suddenly we read the law this way instead of that way. And so just a little bit of tidbits if you have any questions. But sometimes we think of those things as black and white, and I can tell you from personal experience that it has all kinds of gray.
Board highlights.
I'd like to recognize teachers that went to the last tabletop. I don't know, it was like Vanessa, Nicole, Sherry, Jessica, is there, Richter. Am I missing anybody there?
The trainer was me and Vanessa and Nicole. And then the actual tabletop was Vanessa, Brad, Kelsey, Barton. Tammy also went to special ed. I love you guys to make a special ed plan. Tammy, Vanessa, and I did a special ed tabletop as well, to create our own plans, specialized for those students, especially the ones with the high autism and things like that. So, a lot of training in February.
That's good. Any other highlights?
I think the successful conclusion of winter sports between basketball and wrestling. Everybody, did pretty well this year. Have a lot to look forward to for next winter.
We do, yes indeed. Anything else? We're looking forward to spring concerts coming up, I'm sure, shortly, so. these guys wonderful, getting their awards. Where were they placed in there? Mrs. Hanson's kids, the band did their concerts and they did large group.
And I think Mr. Spear told me they got 38 out of 40.
But what happened, Mr.
39 out of 40 and
Mr. Rude?
38 out of 40?
What happened to a bunch of the kids were ineligible in band? Can you tell me the real story that happened there?
Well, the kids being ineligible during the band, they're not getting the work done, you know, and that's what we're running into. We've had this numerous conversations, I know with Kelsey, not just in sports. We're trying different things, you know, in PBS, this week it was a tardy challenge. And that's just an example of where we're trying to address these situations where kids don't want to turn their work in. And that's what we're running into. And getting the work done and getting it turned in and being responsible. I know it drives Mr. Spear crazy. I was in there when he had the conversation with the kids, and it was not pleasant, and he's frustrated. But again, we're trying to figure out how to get these kids, you know, that's really what it comes down to, is the responsibility and on the students. I'm not gonna beat up on my teachers, because they're doing everything we can figure out. How do we turn that as being an important part? A lot of it is not the fact that they're not understanding the work, it's just getting the work done, the importance of the responsibility aspect of it. And poor Mr. Spear is in there when he gets excited, so he came into my office, we had a discussion. And with that competition, you wouldn't have enough to be able to get graded on that piece. So I said, what are the other options? I said, well, the other option is that we can do it, where we at least get to do that. I mean, we don't want to penalize, it's like sports. It's the same thing as sports. You penalize the team for the actions of few. So they went and they were actually able to play it, but they weren't exactly graded against as opposed to, so they weren't necessarily in direct competition. So everybody got to play and got the experience, and we're able to get some feedback, but it wasn't up against in the competition. Because you're losing all, your percussion, you only have so many positions and only so many parts, and you start losing, the percussion end of it or the winds end of it, and it's just gonna throw that whole piece out. I get it. I played in band, I've played several instruments, I know where he's going through. And it's a frustration. And that's what we're dealing with. How do you balance it out? So we're trying to figure out how can we get these kids to at least turn the work in, because nobody's gonna fail a kid who turns their work in. What's gonna happen if you don't turn the work in and you're continuously harping on, and we need the help of the parents. So really, that's what it's coming down to.
The part was just, I think it's the timing when that came out and then the band contest was.
Absolutely, and I think we have a very robust, we've been dealing with this ever since I've been here, and before I was here, we were dealing with an ineligibility list. And what is the best way to handle that? You have to have something, but also you don't want to penalize and whack kids all the time.
Yep.
And it gets band and choir just as much as sports aspect of it.
So will these kids be eligible to go on the trip?
See where their grades are at. Theoretically, we have it built in that you would be able to go, but we would, there's enough time. When we haven't penalized the kids enough, that they get permanently whacked and they have that time to get it made up. So I'd have to check with Mr. I don't know where we're at today on that, but I'll have to check with Mr. Spear on that tomorrow. But we've got it built so kids aren't permanently whacked. We're trying to find that balance. It's always been that way. We tried this, and then you don't, and that doesn't work. So you try it over there, it doesn't work, So you're taking in what you hear from the classroom, the teachers, taking in what you hear from the parents and the students, and trying to find that balance, so. It's very frustrating for all of us, it really is.
Band competition where they have, there was a Minnesota State High School League band, right? So Minnesota State High School League rules apply.
I'm just saying, should they be rewarded if they don't have their schoolwork done to go on a band trip?
I don't know.
The problem you run in, you know, and then
wondering.
in the other end of that, there's a financial, you know, the old story is, you can do this or you can do this, either end. And the FR end is, nobody gets to do sports or anything unless you have, 3.0 average, a B, or C, whatever you want to say, or you don't have anything at all. We're trying to find that middle ground where, like, you then you have the financial aspect. Those trips are very expensive.
All right, just a question.
I'd like to also thank the people who have been working on grants, Melissa, Kelsey, Sherry, and Brad, Sir, and voluntary preschool slots.
We have a lot going on in school, in case you hadn't figured that out. Okay, unfinished business. Calendar adjustment, Mr. Ludwigson, will you kind of explain quick?
Yep, when we start putting in the days into the calendar at the office level, following up Q1 and Q2, we're a little lopsided, so I had the principals take another look at the calendar. And so it affects the high school more so just because that they're more closely tied to the quarter. But what it would do was move one of the PD days up here to the 14th before MREA, move that parent-teacher conference back a week, move up one PD to this November 2nd so that you still have a PD right after the end of the quarter break. That gives enough time to print out grades. And then since we were taking a look at it originally down, there was a PD here April 2nd, and that got shifted over here 30th because we thought that probably made more sense to have a longer Easter spring break than to have another short, like 2 short breaks, a Tuesday, Thursday week, I guess.
Personal professional development, that's a contract day, right?
Yes.
It's not a 3-day weekend for, a 5-day weekend for the students it is, but not for the teachers, right?
Yes. And we have more PD days worked in there. I've been working with the PD committee and Mrs. Sabula and Mr. Rude on plans for things like curriculum alignment, PLCs, and hoping to make use so that we work smarter, not harder.
You need a motion to approve that.
Yeah, because it's slightly different than what we approved before.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Lori, Tom, to adjust the calendar that we passed before to this new dates.
Thank you for that, because that really balances out those quarter classes. Because otherwise you end up with 38 and 47 or something. So when you have quarter classes, it really hits hard.
Any more discussion, questions? Discussion or questions? Discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under the new business then. The donations is long. Coburn's Grocery, Long Prairie is $250 gift card for the culinary arts for the soup supper. Enterprise CP LLC is $500 for the weight room. Lions Club of Long Prairie is $8,000 for scholarships. Lions Clubs of Long Prairie is $4,000 for athletic equipment. Oops, oh no, I lost it. Where'd it go? I'm sorry. Okay, back inside. Thank you to everybody, by the way, it's really a super deal. $300 post-prom from Alexandria Area USBC Association. $50 for post-prom from Prairie Family Dental. $500 post-prom for Jenkins Iron and Steel. $50 post-prom for John Weiss Ford. $50 post-prom for Ross Nesbitt Agencies Incorporated Cutter Insurance Agency. $100 post-prom for North Star Plumbing, Heating and Air LLC. $200 post-prom from Neville Hardware LLC. $200 post-prom from the Trailer Center, $300 for post-prom from American Legion Post 12 in La Prairie, $30 post-prom from Todd Veterinary Clinic, $100 post-prom from Hometown Abstract and Title LLC, $100 post-prom from American Foods Group, $100 post-prom from Minnesota National Bank, $200 post-prom Selno Law Office, PA, $75 post-prom from Long Prairie Sanitation Incorporated, $50 post-prom from Minnesota National Agency Incorporated, $100 post-prom for Long Prairie Oil Company Incorporated, $75 for post-prom from East West Realty of Long Prairie, $100 for post-prom from Vanguard Insurance Services, $2,000 post-prom from the Lions Club of Long Prairie, $100 post-prom from Amy and Mike Zimmerman. And again, make sure it's in the minutes. Big thank you to all these people. These kids are getting fantastic opportunities because of our donors. We need a motion back.
So moved.
I'll second.
Tom, Chuck. Any questions or discussion? Questions or discussion? Questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Policy 625.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Lori? Got a second? You want to talk about it first, or?
Policy 625 is AI policy, the new one from MSBA. This is largely the MSBA language, other than I took out there being a special AI committee. We probably deal with that in our existing committees. And adjusted, there's an AI coordinator, which, congratulations, Mitchell over there. So the tech department handles more of the, is this a good program, bad program, is this on an approved list? Administration handles the, inappropriate use or whatever, that sort of thing. And we did have some policy written into our handbooks this last summer, if you remember. I had to do that just kind of on the research I could do, but this is pretty consistent with what's in it. And the MSBA one is pretty thorough. So we even learned a little bit more about AI reading policy.
Okay,
I'll second it.
Jeremiah. Any further discussion? Any more questions?
This will have to come back at least one more time before we're officially approving.
Yep. The way our policy is written and the way policies should be adopted is that there's initial reading and the public has a chance to take a look at the board meeting and have a comment. And one of the reasons we moved the public comment up is when we have our second board meeting, the public has its second opportunity to say something after it was reviewed at the board meeting. So if if the board still chooses to approve it, they can. So then you have the two readings and then opportunities for the public to have comment.
It's a good plan. So we're just making a motion to pass the first reading. And so we did that, Lori and Jeremiah. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the two readings is for brand new policies.
And that's one of them.
Yep, and that was brand new. The only policy that you could go and ask the AI to write its own policy. Sorry, I couldn't help that, Joe.
That's bad. Anyway, mutual termination and release. Okay, Chuck, this is where we talk about the LC. It's pretty open and forward.
I'm assuming these empty classrooms are already being planned to be put in use for next year?
Yes, behind you, Mrs. Vila is now nodding.
Big plans? I know we've talked about that before, so.
I move to approve the agreement to
I'll second it.
lease with Freshwater.
Lori with a second to approve this termination agreement here. Any further discussion? Any more questions? Any more discussion?
Let's be careful and just make sure that everything that's in there has been followed.
Yeah.
As to
Do it.
what they have to do and what we have to do and what's left behind, what's theirs, what's ours.
Very good point to make, Chuck.
Yeah.
You'll be doing the walkthrough with them, I assume?
I assume I'll be the lucky person.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, then the auditorium lighting.
So the main reason this is up here is that it's not in the same order as our long-term facility maintenance. Originally, we were considering doing some work on like the elementary gymnasium floors. That's not currently a priority, but phase one of the theater lighting, the board died this last fall. I'm not sure if you remember that. It was quite old. It was probably 5 years past its life expectancy. I mean, Mitchell and Mr. Spear were doing a great job of getting it to limp along. And finally it croaked and then we couldn't get sparks for it. So and this would deal with the house lights, which are LTFM, long-term facility maintenance eligible. The next stages are probably a stretch. They will probably become more so out of general because the stage lighting is not necessarily a long-term facility maintenance eligible expense.
So we're basically moving this and the fire replacement up in front of the gym floor as a priority.
Yeah, though the fire replacement is slightly different, as that will fall under health and safety, which is LTFM too, but we weren't anticipating the fire alarm. But we got the quote, and so we're having Summit come out and do a quote, and having the fire marshal, and what I'm hoping to see is that gets placed as a health and safety item, which we'd get a little more money to do the repair of that. But either way, like we listened quite a bit to some of the issues we've had, and that it definitely needs to be done.
So did you say that the lighting will then come out of the general fund instead?
In phases 3 and 4 will most likely, because the stage lighting is kind of considered like a sports light, like it's not considered part of the academic curriculum. And so when you get to stage 3 and 4, which will probably be a few years out, those won't likely be LTFM eligible.
And do you know an approximate price on what that will be?
The 3 and 4?
Stage 3 and 4?
Yes. I'll have to email it out later. I have the quotes in my binders. Me and Mitchell have been working on it, but we do have numbers on those.
We need to accept this.
This is strictly a quote, right?
It's the one we want to go with because we got a couple of quotes.
Did we get other bids? Did we put this out for bids?
Yeah, we got a couple of different quotes.
Okay.
And was there many that do the stage lighting?
No. It's hard to find.
I move to accept the quote.
I'll second it.
Got a motion from Tom, second from Jeremiah. Are there any further discussions or questions on the lighting in the auditorium?
So you said we did get other bids, but you said there aren't really anybody else that does it, so they're hard to find. So we did get bids or we didn't get bids? And we are only seeing one?
We started looking at this project a few years ago, and so when you have trouble with different vendors, you get more than one pricing on it. And then when the light board went out, Mitchell helped with refreshing it and getting new numbers. And Gopher State Lighting was one.
It's the company that we've been going with for a long time here. They're the ones that have been doing it.
So this is the one we got, this is the one we're going with?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any further discussion or questions? Any further further discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Fire alarm replacement.
We've been working on getting a quote for the fire alarm since like the beginning of the year when we had the fire panel trigger the lockdown alarm. However, it's been really hard to get vendors out here. So we got the thank you, quote, and then we have the other one there from the brothers. And the little quote is best of the two. And it's a little bit larger project, which is why I bring it.
The brothers one came in at $3, so it's substantially more. It's not really a question.
I'm gonna get more than this one. This one's big enough.
And we took a look at doing it different ways, like if we could tie the intercom system in it. That did end up being like practical for like everyday use.
The new system and the new way they install it's, I'm sure like hospital has voice activated. There's no sirens anymore. It's just audio.
We have a combination of the two.
You have a combination. Okay. So ours would be strobes and voice. So there's no more annoying buzzer that makes your ears bleed when you walk by them. So, yeah.
And obviously it's the current standards with that system.
They also, it sounds like they're gonna be new standards. They don't have smoke detectors anymore, only in just a couple areas, because it's all based on sprinklers. So that's a lot less that they need to take care of to go wrong. Because right now we're having problems with smoke detectors going bad.
So you said you have multiple quotes on this, you're just providing us with the one that you guys like the best?
Well, there's one in the board packet, and then
there's one, yeah.
did Daniel give the one from
Brothers, we have.
Yeah, Brothers, which as you can see is substantially higher. And Yule Company is the one that does all our HVAC already. So they're already, we know that they do good work.
And they know the building then too.
Yes, and they talk to each other and they can work together, you know, the different departments.
Alright.
And this is coming out of maintenance?
We're LTFM for sure. I'm hoping specifically health and safety.
Alright, so I guess we need a motion on that.
I move to approve the one from UHL company.
I'll second it.
Jeremiah. Now, any further discussion or questions?
Safety first.
Safety first. Any further discussion or questions? Any more discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And I think on the table in front of you, you have MOUs and contracts that we, the negotiators, have worked long and hard at. Do we need to do these one at a time? How do you want to do it?
You'd want to do the MOUs and individual contracts separate, but it's up to you if you want to do them as one vote or individual votes.
I will make the first motion to approve the MOU. Presented. No, I'm not, with Allison Treatment Bond.
I'll second that.
This is a young lady that is helping one student, a handicapped student, to do track. So this is a one-time year. I mean, so it isn't automatic gonna happen next year. It would be, I would assume it would happen, but every year we would have to do this then. So I have a motion and a second to hire Allison Triebenbach. I think it says $1,500 in there somewhere.
Yep. And it's written as an adaptive, so that if we have other scenarios that fall into the same stuff, the language could be.
Right. And same thing, if the kid does not go out, then she's not, we don't have to hire her then. So it's just for that kid. So, we have a motion and a second. Are there any more discussion, questions? Discussion, questions? Any more discussion and questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And the 3 contracts we can do with a blanket motion, correct?
I think you can.
Yeah. I move to approve those 3 contracts as presented to us. I second that.
Any discussion or questions?
Mitchell, did you negotiate both technology contracts?
Just mine,
Just yours?
just his.
Alright.
His is coming at a different time, isn't it? Or are they both here?
I got his.
His and Skylar's are both.
Yeah, I was just wondering, cause I was looking over at Skylar's, so. Did Skylar negotiate his own then?
Yes. I helped him. I mean, I didn't do it with him.
Right, no.
I read it, yeah, that's all.
And that's about where everything should be for an assistant?
They discussed it, I didn't, yeah.
Any more questions, discussion? Questions, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, I think we're done.